Um, so just a bit about me, I'm not here really to train anyone, or I just want to share my experience with everyone else, really. We are a complex care home. We're looking after people with complex behavior and people with complex dementia. And I've been the manager of this home for 10 years now, more than 10 years. The reason we went for gold standard framework accreditation is because I, even though we've been outstanding twice, I never felt we knew enough about end of life care and about how to look after people, when they're approaching end of life, and how to support the family the best. And I have no regret going through this accreditation. And we got accreditation, but it's a journey. And when we had a nurse coming around, only by meeting her for one day, I have learned so much. I was amazed. So I'm just happy to share this with you, really. So why we went for this gold standard framework is when we started the journey, I started the journey in a care home. I'm a nurse by background. People moving in a care home, they used to be with us like, I don't know, sometimes 7 years, 8 years, 10 years. But now they're coming and going, and sometimes you only get the chance to meet them for a few days, few weeks, if you're lucky enough, for a few months or for a few years. And the possibility of us as care home to connect with the family and with them, it becomes harder and harder to know what they would like. And obviously, we all have to meet CQC requirements, and advanced care planning was one of them. And at the time when we started Gold Standard Framework, yes, we had the clinical side of it. We had TEP forms in place and, everything connected with the clinical decision, but not so much about what they would really like, what the family would really like. So I wanted to support the team to feel confident, organized, and calm, and to make sure that we actually recognize every person who lives here and their family. What we learned through the journey, and actually probably we knew that before, but it was somehow a reassurance that we still have things to learn, that good end of life is a shared responsibility across the whole team. And the reason I'm saying that, and I can give an example, which it was a lesson learned for us, and I've actually shared that with Anne and Catherine, is we had someone who passed away at 6 o'clock in the morning. And with a family who wasn't local, the staff member was with them. Obviously, we had a normal handover, but we don't have the handover with the domestic. So sadly enough, whilst the person was lying in bed, being prepared to be moved, the domestic went in a room, said good morning, had no answer, assumed that the person is asleep, carry on hoovering, left the room. And we realized that actually the communication was not good enough. We didn't manage to pass the message across the team to say, this person passed away. And we had a very distressed cleaner, actually, probably for about a week, by the fact that she did not acknowledge that somebody who had died was in bed. So we're not perfect, and we had to learn from everything. I'll explain later the changes we have made about it. Challenges about the advanced care planning, and I think probably everyone would agree with me here because you're all from care home, is how to approach the family, how we approach the family to discuss. And it still remains a challenge for us, and probably is going to remain a challenge for everyone. However, we had families who were happy to discuss, and we have changed the way that we start the conversation. Because once you start the conversation with the TEP form, and about the clinical decision. People panic. People panic when they have to make a decision about hospital admission because they worried, well, what do we do? Is it right for them to stay in a care home? Is it right for them to go in a hospital? But once you start the conversation about, well, how would you like the room to be? Is there any specific music they would like? Is it anything specific which you would like? And they tend not to avoid that much the end of life discussion. What helped us with advanced care planning? It was a suggestion and probably the best thing we have learned, and I hope it's going to help you as well. She actually said, what makes you think that only the family could put information into advanced care planning? And I said, well, it has to be the contribution from them. And she said, well, actually, these people are living with you. You are their new family. And she said, what's stopping you from creating an advanced care planning with your team, with the activity team, with the people which they connect? You would know what actually music they like, how they reacted to a specific smell. And actually it has been very successful because we focused on what we knew about the person at the time, not about their past. We have involved the families as well, but it has been successful to involve the team, and actually that enable us to create loads of advanced care planning, loads actually. Like I said, what we cover within the comfort plans and the advanced care planning is the preferred music, any blankets, hand massage, any form of lighting. And I put here a comment about end-of-life boxes. I don't know if you guys using this, but prior to going for advanced care planning, we used to have in a nurse's station, like everyone has, like end of life, like for mouth care, any form of solution, oral solution, anything to support people who are approaching end of life. What we created at the time, it was end of life boxes, and then these boxes will be moving to a room when a person is approaching end of life. What advanced care planning enabled us to do, it was to create personalized end-of-life boxes. Not for all people living here, because some family did not wish to be involved. But for some of them, we have had it already in place, even though they weren't approaching end of life, and we have it. We have the specific music there. We have headphones with the music which they might enjoy. A specific smell and a device which will propagate the smell into the room, cream for hand massage with the husband, or the family who advise what they would like. And they are very, very helpful. And it makes us very effective. It makes us proactive, because when that resident is approaching end of life, the last few weeks or the last few days, you could just go to the end of life box and everything is there. Everything is there. Trust me, it makes a big difference to the families and to the people we're looking after. Changes we made in a home, probably the biggest change we have made is something which I always wanted to do, is people leaving the building through the front door. For many years, I worked in a care home for 18 years now. When people are dying, they are being taken through the fire exit. And I'm sure this is something which is happening in majority of the homes. It did happen in ours. My hat down to you if it doesn't happen in yours. And when I sat down with my team and I said, what changes would you make if you would be able to, from so many of them came the fact that, they should not leave the building through the back door. And it made me realize that it was so wrong. It was so wrong because people are coming through their front door. We are their home. And we were somehow, I don't know, going through the back door. It was like we were hiding this from everyone, which we don't do anymore. And it makes it so much easier to acknowledge that the people do approach end of life. And it's about how we making this journey, easier and more comfortable for the family, for the other people living here. And now it's somehow putting all of us at peace and puts the other residents at peace because they are building connection with each other. And we don't have to hide it. We just tell, they passed away and they're going to leave the building through the front door. And it doesn't matter what time it is. If we have an activity, if we have music entertainment, if it's lunchtime, we all stop, we all pay respect, we all sit in a lounge for the person to leave the building. We have created a personalized body covering, and the body doesn't leave the building in a black, horrible bag like they do. We give the opportunity to the staff and the residents to pay respect, and actually sometimes to the families if they are here. And based on a learning with the domestic team, we have created a door sign in which indicates that the people are at a peaceful rest in a room. And such a small thing, which you see it in a hotel, like do not disturb, ours is a bit different. It makes such a difference because it improves communication so much. Because we are a massive old building with 52 beds, and we have 83 employees. And trying to pass the message from one to another, sometimes it becomes a challenge. But this door sign, amazing. What else we did is we create a memory book for reflection. And we decided to make this memory book, I'll be very honest, more for the staff. And we decided to do that. We had a gentleman who lived with us for about 11 years. Rather young, I would say. He lived with MS. Unfortunately, had passed away since. But the majority of the team had such connection with him. And not everyone could go to the funeral. So I said, well, how about we write something in a book? And then we just made a simple book at the time. And then we realized that we would like to do that about everyone who lived here. And then we create a memory book. And it helps. It helps because I don't know how it is for you guys, but for me, my workplace, Sefton Hall, is my second family. And I spend here more than I spend with my own family, to be honest with you. I come here in the morning, go home in the evening. And for the majority of staff, is the same. So we will be building connection. When someone dies, it's just not that easy to get through it. Being able to write somewhere something to remind you about them is it's amazing. We have a memory tree with little hearts, and I think it helped a lot because we managed to place this cabinet by the front door. And being there somehow, even when I come to work sometimes, I can see like a little heart, and he actually reminds me of that person, and sometimes he makes me smile. So it's just a way of remembering people. And the same, we created a shared space for for our staff to talk about it. And maybe I shouldn't give examples, but I have to give you this example because it's very recent. A gentleman who lived with us for about 8 years now. He had no family. We were his only family. He died last week, passed away in a hospital last week, sadly in a hospital, because he wanted to go hospital. And we knew he's not going to make it back, but he wanted to go hospital. Unfortunately, he died 2 days later. And it impacted the team, a lot, especially the people who've been here a while. And we do have a room where we can sit with the staff, and we could share memories, actually. And we had so many funny memories about him. It somehow made it easier to lose him. So what I'm trying to say about that we all have a duty to remember the people we're working with and their families, because they are the ones who are being left behind, and they are the ones who have to carry on looking after people still. I took some photos here just to show you really the cabinet with the little heart, which we have it by the front door. And the little hearts do carry a message. It's only one member of staff who's been the closest to that specific resident who will put a message there. Just some ideas. I don't know if you're going to use but it's just what we did. And I really feel it made a difference. I really feel, that black bag from the funeral directors is awful. It's awful. So we created a couple of covering with really heavy material, and it just gives people a bit of decency, really. And this is the door sign in there, just to tell everyone that, actually do not disturb the room. Talking about challenges, I think the challenges will remain. If there is no family to discuss the advanced care planning, it makes it complicated. I'm not here to talk about the clinical challenges, even though I'm a nurse as a background, because somehow I feel we could get our head around the clinical challenges. A TAP form is not a legal document anyway, it's based on your clinical decision. Just in case bag, I find those things are just, they have to be in place anyway. That's why we're looking after people. That's why we are care homes and we have nurses to ensure people are pain-free, people are comfortable. There are professionals out in a community to support us to do that. But when we're talking about the emotional need, it becomes a completely different level. About the families who are losing their loved one, about families who they just don't know what to do. If their mom or their dad haven't said, well, I want this, I want this, I want this, it's a big pressure on their shoulder. And at the end, do we have to put pressure on them? We have to learn along the way. Do we really have to put them under pressure to make a decision? Probably not really. I think if we encouraging the conversation in a way in which they not being asked to make a decision, and we instigate the decision from them with offering support, is much, much better, much better. Life history, it becomes essential. However, as we learn, sometimes these people, how they were in the past, 20 years ago, they were not at the time when they pass away. So that is a very fine line between one and another. That's why the input from your care team is so valuable. Talking about advanced dementia and talking about people being discharged from hospital at end of life, people with no families, those things will never change. We have people discharged from hospital at an end of life with a telephone saying they're still for hospital admission. And there is no one to make the decision for them if they should or they shouldn't. And then you just have to talk with professionals and you have to make the decision, but everything is going back to the time. Do you have the time to do that? If you take a discharge on a Friday evening. So those challenges would remain. But like I said, I think, and I have found it myself before we did gold standard framework, like somehow wanting those things to be in place as soon as. But I had to learn, and my team had to learn along the way, that, some families will not engage. Some families don't want to make the decision. Some families don't want to talk about it. Some families don't even have a funeral plan, and there's quite few of them, and they're waiting to the last minute to make the decision about where the body will go. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're all different, and we have to embrace the fact that we are all different. Some people find it comfortable to talk about end of life. Some people don't. And for us, we need to find our way around. And that's about knowing them and knowing what's best to do and concentrate on a comfort and more than the clinical decision, because those clinical decisions should be happening anyway. I think that's it from me. Just to say thank you for listening and thank you for caring. I am very passionate about end of life, and I do feel if you could go through gold standard framework, it's not about an accreditation. Believe me, it's not about an accreditation. It's about sitting and engaging with others and just learning and accepting the fact that, it's not perfect. Advanced care planning is not perfect. Hospital discharge are not perfect. We will have challenges with families. Like I said, some don't want to talk, but I'm sure we can all find our way around to give them a very decent way of living.